You have been putting off the same 5 things for the last 3 years. Not because you lack the time, not because the circumstances aren't right, because somewhere along the way, you stopped believing you were worth fixing. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you a single method, one day, one decision, one shift that has the power to realign your health, your money, your relationships, and your purpose. Not next Monday, not after the new year, today. Pause this video right now. Go to the description. I've left you a single question. One question that if you answer it honestly will tell you exactly where to start today. Write your answer in the comments. Not for me, for yourself. Because the moment you say it out loud, it stops being a feeling and starts being a fact you have to deal with. I'll wait. Come back when you're done. Most people are waiting for the right moment, the right season, the right version of themselves to arrive before they begin. They say things like, next month I'll get serious, or after this project settles down, I'll fix things. And the months stack into years, and the years stack into a life they never chose, but somehow ended up living anyway. Here is what nobody tells you about change. It does not happen gradually. It happens in a moment, a single, unrepeatable, irreversible moment, when something shifts inside you and the person you were 5 minutes ago is already someone you're done being. The months of preparation, the slow build-up, the accumulating frustration, all of that is just kindling. The decision is the match. When we say, fix your life in one day, we are not promising that your debts will vanish, your body will transform, or your relationships will heal before midnight. We are saying something far more powerful than that. We are saying that the trajectory of your entire life can change direction in a single day, because trajectories don't change at the destination. They change at the pivot point. And the pivot point is always a decision, not a result. Think of it this way. A ship crossing the Atlantic doesn't arrive in a different country because of 1,000 small accidents. It arrives where it arrives because someone, at some point, chose a heading. 1 degree of change at the start of a journey produces hundreds of miles of difference by the end. Your life works the same way. The day you make a real decision, not a wish, not an intention, not a New Year's resolution set into the ceiling at midnight, but a true bone-deep decision about who you are going to be, that day becomes the before and after line of your entire story. You don't need a month. You don't need a perfect plan. You need one day where you are finally honest enough and brave enough to choose. Nobody wakes up one morning and finds their life in ruins from a single bad day. That is not how collapse works. Collapse is quiet. It is patient. It happens in the small, almost invisible moments that feel too minor to matter. The morning you skip the workout because you're tired. The month you dip into savings and tell yourself it's just this once. The evening you come home and look at your phone instead of looking at your family. None of these feel like decisions. They feel like exceptions. But exceptions, repeated often enough, become the rule. And the rule becomes your life. Habit is the most powerful force in human existence, precisely because it operates below the level of conscious thought. You don't decide to be undisciplined every morning. You just follow the groove that yesterday carved, and the day before that, and the year before that. The groove gets deeper with every repetition until eventually it stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like personality. You stop saying, I haven't been exercising, and start saying, I'm just not an active person. You stop saying, I've been spending recklessly, and start saying, I'm just bad with money. The behavior becomes identity, and identity is the hardest thing in the world to argue with. But here's the truth that changes everything. If habit built the prison, habit can build the door. The same mechanism that locked you in is the one that lets you out. Every pattern you are living today was installed one repetition at a time, which means it can be uninstalled the exact same way. You don't need a dramatic event to break a bad habit. You need a different choice made consistently enough that it carves its own groove, runs its own current, and eventually becomes the thing that feels automatic. The life you want is not waiting for a miracle. It is waiting for a new habit to become boring enough that you stop noticing you're doing it. How you begin a thing reveals how you intend to finish it, and nothing tells the truth about a person's inner world more honestly, more ruthlessly than the first 60 minutes after they open their eyes. Most people never think about this. They wake up reactively, reaching for the phone before their feet touch the floor, flooding their mind with other people's emergencies, other people's opinions, other people's noise, before they have had a single thought of their own. And then they wonder why they feel behind before the day has even started. They wonder why they feel like passengers in their own lives. The morning is not just the start of the day. It is the tone setter for every decision, every interaction, every moment of discipline or weakness that follows. When you wake up in chaos, scrambling, scrolling, reacting, you are training your nervous system to operate from panic. And a nervous system that lives in panic cannot think clearly, cannot choose wisely, cannot hold the line when temptation arrives at 2 p.m. and asks you to quit. The state you enter the morning in is the state you will be fighting to escape from for the rest of the day. But flip it. Give yourself 30 minutes of silence before the world gets its hands on you. Read something that sharpens your thinking. Move your body, even briefly, enough to remind it that it is strong. Write down the one thing that matters most today so that the urgent never fully buries the important. Do this not because a productivity guru told you to, but because it works on a level that is almost biological. You are essentially telling your mind, before the noise arrives, what kind of day this is going to be. And the mind, which is always listening, always taking notes, adjusts accordingly. Fix your morning, and you will not fix everything, but you will fix the version of yourself who shows up to everything else. And that version is the one who determines how your story ends. We live in the most informed generation in human history. Every answer to every question ever asked is sitting in a device in your pocket, available within seconds, for free. You can learn surgery on YouTube. You can study the habits of billionaires on a Tuesday afternoon in your pajamas. You can access more wisdom, more strategy, more step-by-step instruction before breakfast than most people throughout all of human history encountered in a lifetime. And yet, by every meaningful measure, people are more lost, more stuck, and more unfulfilled than ever before. This is not a coincidence. This is a diagnosis. The problem was never information. The problem is that information without philosophy is just noise with good packaging. You can know exactly what to eat and still open the refrigerator at midnight looking for something to fill an emptiness that food was never designed to fill. You can know precisely how compound interest works and still spend everything you earn because somewhere deep down, you don't believe you deserve to accumulate anything. You can read every book on communication and still say nothing real to the person sleeping next to you because your philosophy about vulnerability tells you that openness is weakness. Philosophy is not an academic word. It is the operating system running silently beneath every choice you make. It is what you actually believe, not what you say you believe in a conversation designed to impress someone, but what you believe at 3 a.m. when no one is watching and the decision is entirely yours. It is your answer to questions like, do I deserve good things? Is effort actually rewarded? Can someone like me genuinely change? Those answers, whatever they are producing your life right now with terrifying precision. So before you download another app, follow another system, or write another list of goals, sit with this question honestly. What do you actually believe about yourself and about what is possible for you? Because until that changes, nothing else will. Not really, not in the way that lasts. There is a version of self-improvement that places all responsibility on the individual, on their willpower, their mindset, their ability to white-knuckle their way through every temptation and distraction that life throws at them. It is an appealing idea because it is flattering. It tells you that you are powerful enough to rise above any circumstance through sheer force of character. And while character matters enormously, this version of the story leaves out something so obvious, so ever-present, that most people never think to examine it. It leaves out the water you are swimming in every single day. Your environment is not neutral. It is not a passive backdrop against which your real life plays out. It is an active, constant, invisible force that is shaping your thoughts, your desires, your definition of what is normal, and your ceiling of what feels possible. Every hour of every day, whether you are aware of it or not. The books on your shelf tell you what kind of person you are becoming. The conversations at your dinner table tell you what problems are worth solving. The accounts you follow tell you what body you should want, what success should look like, what you are allowed to feel proud of. You did not choose most of these inputs consciously. They accumulated, and now they are running you. Think about the people closest to you, not who you wish they were, but who they actually are in their daily lived reality. Are they reading, building, growing, asking hard questions about their own lives? Or are they comfortable, cynical, convinced that the world is rigged and effort is for fools? You do not need to abandon people you love, but you need to understand with clear eyes that proximity is influence, and influence over time is transformation, in whatever direction it is pointed. The most efficient thing you can do today is not push harder against your environment. It is to change what surrounds you so that the right behaviors become the path of least resistance. Make the good choice the easy choice. Make growth the air you breathe rather than the mountain you climb. Your environment quietly and consistently will do the rest. Somewhere along the way, discipline got a reputation it does not deserve. It became associated with restriction, with rigidity, with the image of someone joyless and grinding, denying themselves every pleasure in pursuit of some distant, abstract reward. People hear the word and they flinch. They associate it with the harshest version of their most demanding teacher, or the coldest version of a parent who confused love with control, and so they reject it. They call it obsessive. They celebrate spontaneity instead and freedom and living in the moment, as though structure and joy are enemies that cannot occupy the same life at the same time. But here is what that story costs you. Every area of your life that currently causes you pain, causes you shame, causes you to look away when you pass a mirror, or avoid checking your bank balance, or go quiet when someone asks how things are going. Every single one of those areas is painful, not because you were too disciplined, but because you were not disciplined enough, for long enough, in the ways that actually mattered. The credit card debt did not build itself. The distance in the relationship did not appear from nowhere. The body you are uncomfortable in did not happen despite your choices. It happened through them, through the accumulated weight of 1,000 small moments where comfort was chosen over commitment. Discipline is not the thing that takes from you. It is the thing that protects you from the version of yourself that makes decisions based on how you feel in a single weak moment. It is the wall you build in advance so that when fear arrives, when fatigue arrives, when the voice that says just this once, it won't matter arrives, and it will arrive reliably on schedule. You already have an answer that requires no negotiation, no willpower, no deliberation. The decision was already made. The boundary was already drawn. A person without discipline is not free. They are simply at the mercy of their worst impulses, wearing the costume of freedom. True freedom is the life you build on the other side of doing what needed to be done, even when nothing in you wanted to do it. This may be the most important and the most uncomfortable truth in all of human psychology, because it removes every remaining excuse. It dismantles the last hiding place that the part of you resistant to change has been living in rent-free for years. You cannot claim ignorance. You cannot say nobody told you. You cannot point to a lack of access or a lack of opportunity or a lack of information as the reason your life looks the way it looks today, because you already know. You have always known, and that knowing, sitting unused and unacted upon, is not wisdom. It is weight. Think about what you actually know right now, in this moment, without learning a single new thing. You know that your body needs movement and water and sleep and whole food and less of what comes in packages designed to make you consume beyond the point of satisfaction. You know that money saved consistently over time produces security, and money spent impulsively and emotionally produces anxiety. You know that relationships require presence, and presence requires intention, and intention requires you to put down the thing in your hand and look at the person in your room. You know that the career you want will not walk through your door while you are comfortable in the career you have. You know all of this. Every word of it lands without surprise because none of it is new. And yet, the knowing sits on one side of a canyon and the doing sits on the other. And between them is a gap that is not filled with more information, not filled with better planning, not filled with another conversation about what needs to change. It is filled with one thing only, and that thing is the moment you stop treating your own life as a subject you are studying and start treating it as a territory you are responsible for. The people whose lives you admire did not get there by knowing more than you. They got there by tolerating the discomfort of acting on what they knew before they felt ready, before conditions were perfect, before the fear went away. The fear never goes away. You act in spite of it, or you don't act at all. And the gap remains, and the years pass, and the knowing that was supposed to save you becomes the heaviest thing you carry. Everything in this speech, every truth examined, every uncomfortable mirror held up, every philosophy challenged, and every excuse dismantled, it all converges here. Because inspiration without structure is just emotion, and emotion without direction dissipates by morning, leaving nothing behind except the faint guilt of another conversation with yourself that produced nothing but good intentions. So this final keynote is not a feeling. It is a formula, simple enough to execute today, powerful enough to change everything that follows. The audit comes first, not a gentle, forgiving scan of your life designed to make you feel reasonable. A real audit, the kind that requires you to sit alone, without your phone, without background noise, without the comfortable static that modern life provides precisely so that you never have to sit with the truth of your own situation. You look at your health, your finances, your relationships, your daily use of time, and you ask one question about each. Is what I am doing here actually working? Not is it comfortable, not is it familiar, not have I been doing it long enough that changing it would feel disorienting. Is it working? That question, answered honestly across every domain of your life, produces a document more valuable than any plan you have ever written, because it is built on reality rather than aspiration. Then comes the decision. One decision, not 10. The audit will reveal multiple areas that need attention, and the temptation will be to address all of them simultaneously with a sweeping overhaul that collapses under its own ambition within a week. Resist that. Find the one area where change would create the most momentum, where a shift would send ripples outward into every other broken thing, and decide about that one thing with every part of yourself. Not a trial run, not an experiment, a decision. Then before the sun goes down, before the day closes, and tomorrow becomes the new place where your better life is scheduled to begin, you take one action. Visible, physical, undeniable. Something that exists in the world after you do it that was not there before. Because that action is not just a task completed. It is evidence. Evidence that you are already, right now, today, becoming the person you decided to be.